Before we start with the presentation, let me tell you what you won't be hearing in this presentation. I'm not going to talk too much about technology here. Let's think about Superman. All his power, is it dependent on the suit that he is wearing?
No.
Let's imagine this scenario. Superman is taking a shower and a guy goes in, takes his suit and wears it. Will he become Superman? No. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. DSLR means nothing in photography. What is good photography to you?
Clarity. Should be clear.
Clarity. Okay.
Something that catches the eye and stays in the mind.
Okay. What else?
Something that makes you want to go be in that place, actually, sometimes. Makes you want to be like, wow, I wish I was there.
Okay. Do you say that about horror films often?
Depends on if it's Friday or Sunday.
You're watching Exorcist and then, oh, I wish I was there. So I'm going to segregate a lot of things and put it into, most of you said content. Somebody said about composition. Put that into a different category and we'll call it language. So he came up with this solution to grade a photograph and to, it was a research to find a standardized what is good photography and what is bad photography, right? Now, out of 10, you have to score content, language, and package in every photograph that you see. That is the rule. That's the equation. And you take an average, you get a score. There's a matter of subjectivity there, which I'll tell you an example. Let's say it's your wedding photograph. You're looking at it. Your wedding photograph. You're looking at it and you're scoring it, right? What is the score that you will give to the content?
Depends on how long you've been married.
Yeah, nobody is going to say that, okay, this is my photograph, so I'm going to give it 0, right? You're definitely going to give 10 out there. So that ruins the equation right there, right? It is subjective. You cannot rate your own photograph. When you are the content there, you are never going to rate it like, okay, I will give myself a 3 or something. And nobody will say that. No. Very simply, what is the science behind photography? Photography is basically art, but it has a science behind it. You know the science behind it, and you know exactly how to place the camera, how to compose it, to build the language and all that. Now there is one more thing which is missing. What is that? There is art, there is science, and you need one more thing which will push you further ahead. This is something which most photographers have already. Any spatial decisions that you are making, how much space you should leave in the frame, right? Or anything which is beyond the main form comes to space. So here in this picture, the space is really important also, right? This spatial decision is very critical because if it doesn't have that, will it say the same story? Is it saying the same story? No, we don't know where she is, right? Story here is a little more elaborate, right? It have, she's in a car, she's worried, she's looking at the person there. It might be the parents fighting or something. She's in the back seat of a car. The car is moving and she is sort of anxious, worried what is going to happen to the future. And there is a big story there. But if you choose to have a different pacing there, the story is gone. The beauty of the story is gone. The difference between the darkest spot on an image and the brightest spot on an image is called contrast. There are a lot of creative ways you can play with contrast. Most of the people, when we start as photographers, we forget about contrast, right? That is something people can easily ignore. We don't worry about contrast. How contrasting is my subject from its background. Even that is very important. Is it blending with the background? It's called bleeding, right? We all feel, see, if I'm wearing a white shirt and I'm standing near a white wall and somebody is photographing me, my white is going to bleed into the wall, right? It looks like I'm just a floating head. So that's not something that I don't want. We actually see that in a lot of, amateur pictures and all that. But contrast is something you really have to, so you have to build that space in between. The person shouldn't stand that close to the wall, or he should stand in a way that some sort of shadow is cast onto the wall so that you can see the separation. That is how you play with the contrast. So any sort of rhythm patterns, lines and all that, we can easily recognize it. That's why kid starts, when they're babies and all that, they can start recognizing patterns, repeating patterns and all that. That's the first thing that they will be able to recognize, because that's already inside us, finding patterns and all that. So when I show this picture, even if it's not a great picture, it will immediately strike and it will get into your mind. Now we are here at a point where you have to take your camera and shoot, right? Enough with the pre-production talk and all that. Now we have to shoot, knowing your subject, right? Doesn't matter what you're shooting. It could be a person, it could be a baby, it could be a building, right? Very important that you know where you are, right? So all these things, we have to do it very quickly also. You might not get enough time to spend like a couple of days with the subject and shoot it, because you might be traveling some point and you have to shoot something immediately, and then you have to quickly get whatever information you can from that place, and then you shoot an image. What is world? So knowing your subject is the content that you're shooting, what you're seeing through your frame. Now, what is knowing your world? If I am not very sure about how these conditions will affect my photograph, I might get a very faulty picture. Huh?
Speed at which the light is.
Yeah, very big. I cannot even say that if it's right or wrong, but
Time the sensor is exposed. How long you expose
yeah,
the subject?
yes. How long you expose your capturing area or sensor or whatever it is to the light. So let's say I'm capturing 30 seconds. What is the effect it has on my picture?
Motion blur. More like
Blur, yeah, image will be blurry. What else will happen?
more light change.
More light is going to be there. When you're seeing something, right? Anything, you know that what is the distance between object A to object B, right? Now for an image, for a camera, regular camera, there is no way to capture that depth. Those 5 words, you try and build a premise.
So I selected black, phone, water, sari, and scenery.
Okay.
It could be like in Varanasi, a woman wearing sari pouring water from
The mobile phone.
yeah, yeah, clicked by mobile.
So I selected color as green and then jungle, kayak, scarf and happiness.
Okay.
So girl is doing kayak in a jungle and she happy with the car.
Amazing. Yeah, it's very surreal. Awesome.
Mountains, cigar, jacket in white. So the man is smoking a cigar, wearing a jacket in the white, surrounded by mountains.
Surrounded by
Mountains.
mountains. Okay, awesome.
Fair to give packaging equal weightage, because if we are touching up the photo and making it slightly different, are we doing justice to the actual standard?
It doesn't matter. See, Puritan art is something which is, we cannot actually hug to that and say that I will only do Puritan art from now on. If we say that, we cannot do anything right now. Image correction is something which is acceptable right now. Given what our devices and software can do, so it is definitely acceptable. You cannot say that packaging is, you cannot give it equal weightage. This is the right time to give that the equal weightage. There's a lot of people, they have amazing, let's say, content. They have amazing visual grammar. But technically that image is like gone. Let's say looking at a good picture, which is compressed in a very low resolution, will you look at it? Well, I'm giving 100 cameras to 100 people and sending them off to Taj Mahal. How many similar images am I going to get? I will get 99 similar pictures, and the one will be underexposed or something, right? Why? What is the reason to that? It's there, and it's a lens property again. So you have 1855 lenses, 18 millimeter or 70 millimeter. These are the focal length measures. What does this millimeter stand for? There is a field of vision that you can actually use when you're shooting with any sort of lenses. You can only stand at a particular distance from an object to shoot an image, right? If you go closer to that, you can never focus it, right? It happens with our eyes also. If you go very, very, very closer to an object, right, you cannot see what it is.